let's take a look at the diversity and inclusion space. And let's think about right now, we ask women, we ask folks of color, we ask differently abled folks to prove that they have value. And we ask them to get mentors. We ask them to get coaches. We ask them to have a women's empowerment group. Women don't need to be empowered. You already have power. What you need is for us to get out of the damn way. What we also ask is for you to make the business case to prove that what others think about you is not true. That is a tax. That is extra labor, because the majority group, namely men, don't have to make the business case. They don't have to get coaches. Their capabilities are axiomatic, which means they're self-evident. So after we shift from a deficit-focused lens to an asset lens, we all must do something extraordinarily different. And it's so difficult that oftentimes we don't even know that we need to do it. We must cease to act out of guilt, out of shame, out of pity, and out of fear. And we must make the work that we do personal. So what does it mean to make the work personal? So as you all heard, that I do a lot of work with Time's Up and Me Too. So I spend a lot of my time working with men. And when you sit with men and you find out that a lot of them started to care about gender equality because they had a daughter, it's an interesting thing for them to say. Now, that's not the worst catalyst, right? But they skipped a step in their journey. Because in order to make the issue personal, you have to understand that fear is really what is your catalyst. And fear is not something that's going to take you for too long. Because if you don't make the issue personal, you don't find out that your fear is rooted in a form of benevolent sexism. Now, many of us who are deemed privileged, we have to be careful not to act out of shame and out of guilt. Because when we do, we don't understand that having money, having a good job, it's not something that we should be guilty or feel shame around. Because money and status actually have no real value. You cannot be spiritually fed because you have money or because you have status. And acting out of guilt specifically, scroll up a little bit, highlights the fact that we must wrestle with something much deeper. That when you act out of fear, when you act out of guilt, when you act out of shame, you have to own that part of you thinks that you're better than the person that you're helping. I want you to sit with that for just a second. You should never feel guilt or feel shame when you're acting for someone else. And we should also never need praise. We should also never need gifts. Because when you do, as Brittany Cooper says, the deep emotional labor, you make your choices differently, and you make your choices personal. Now, I must say something somewhat unpleasant and somewhat brutal, but I hope that you all ride with me for a little bit longer about how do we make these issues personal. I want to talk about a term that we use far too often during Pride Month, and that term is ally or allyship. Right now, the term ally is used when one is acting in support of another, and you want to help these other people. And silently, you're thinking, I'm a good person, so I'm going to do some things to help those people who are less fortunate. No one cares if you think of yourself as a good person. The question is, do you understand that oppression and discrimination are diseases that spread? And if they affect one person, at some point, they will impact us all. And we have to come to understand that we're not acting as allies, but we are partners in solidarity. Because we are all living in this dangerous and wonderful thing called life together. Now I want to leave you all with a quote by the great James Baldwin that I think really helps to crystallize what I mean by making these issues personal. In a letter to Angela Davis while she was falsely imprisoned, James Baldwin said, "If they come for you, in the morning, they will come for me at night. Thank you all.